20 bucks. 20 bucks. You're on the line for 20 bucks. They keep on playing, nobody's paying. No one, some nickels and some dimes. Hi guys. Hi Jabor. Jabor from Montreal. Hi everybody. It's snowing. Likely, but it's snowing. And we're working up towards the festive season. And we do tend to eat, or, you know, we tend to eat richer foods than we would normally eat. So today, I'm going to make a vegetarian korma and some sugar-free, fat-free mince pies. I've got the recipe for the mincemeat. We will make the mincemeat later on, but this has to be kept, if you're not going to use it straight away, has to be kept in the freezer because it has no sugar for the to conserve it. So it's one that I've used for years and years and years, being a diabetic. It means that I can indulge a little bit over Christmas. So come on, back to the stove with me. We just want to get the korma started and then we'll come back to do the mincemeat. So come on back. Now, the vegetarian korma, I've got bits of paper all over the place. Let me put that there. For the vegetarian korma, there are various ways of making it. Some people like to put some green beans in, but this is one of Mahir Jeffrey's favourite, one of my, as I say, one of my favourite chefs. And I'm not sure if it's southern or northern India that eat a lot of potatoes. You don't think of Indian food and potatoes. And with this one, you actually eat some rice with it at the same time, if you want. And now I've got some coconut oil in here. That adds a different flavour. A little diced onion. Let's just turn that up a little bit. I've got the microphone wires poking. There we are. Now I've got, it's a very, very simple dish. Very easy to make. And I've got parboiled potatoes, which I did yesterday. The better, they're a little bit more solid once they're cold. And it's a good idea if you cook some potatoes, make double the amount, mash or do whatever with 1/2 and leave the rest for to make this dish. So we've got the onions. In here I've got grated ginger and minced. I've got grated ginger and minced garlic. So I'm going to turn that down to low, very low. In fact, I'm going to move it over to the other burner. Let me just put that on low. Put the lid on and let that just cook slowly because I want to get the mince pies in the oven. So come back with me and we'll come back and we'll finish that off. Now, I've made pastry. I've got a little bit left over. I've got 8 ounces of pastry here, short crust pastry though, so that's 8 ounces of flour, 4 ounces of, I like to put a little shortening in there with some butter or margarine. So it's 50% and 50%. And I actually, because this is, I like to mix this up with some egg and cold water. And remember, when you're rolling out the pastry for the mince pies, you see they're quite deep. So I used that larger, that's actually a muffin ring. And so I use that, roll that out, and the surface that you've rolled out, put that so people can see it, because that's always the best. And I tend to roll out in batches, because the first rolling of pastry is always the better. It's always the better one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to put that over there and I'll work with that later. So let's get rid of some of this flour so it doesn't go everywhere. It makes...
Sorry, I'm washing the floors tonight.
Pardon?
I'm washing the floors tonight.
Yeah, Derek's watching the floor, so that's okay. I can make a mess. But this was always interesting when you were making pastry in the kids' classes. Oh my gosh. They could get flour where flour shouldn't go. The rolling pin can go over there to be washed. I washed my hands before we started all this. I need spoons. And this is the mincemeat that I made yesterday. It's better to leave it overnight. It's a bit pale in colour because I used pale sultanas. And the recipe for this I will tell you later, but it's apple, grated apple and carrot. I grind down some almonds in a food processor, sultanas, a little orange peel, orange zest and orange juice. You can use lemon, but there's no sugar in here, so it needs to be it can be a little bit tart. And some spirit, rum, whiskey, brandy, and that actually helps to preserve as well as add flavour. And the thing is that mix it all together and just leave it overnight. I put this out in the garage overnight and it's fine for this morning. So we want them to be nicely full. There's nothing worse than biting into a mince pie and just finding fresh air. Yeah, I'd rather have one and have a good mince pie. But by all means, put in darker raisins. Some people like to put mixed peel in. That's okay. I was just looking for this because I'm just going to brush around the edge to help seal. I usually make mince pies, cook them and keep them in the freezer for Christmas. And then I've not got the rush of Christmas. When the children were growing up, 1st of December, I had a list on the fridge and I used to mark off every day. One day would be making the mincemeat, then the mince pies, Christmas puds, and we would go down the list. I'd get the breadcrumbs done for the stuffing, put it in the freezer, and we'd go down the list till Christmas Eve, and then I would prepare the vegetables for Christmas Day. And then it was really quite a relaxed Christmas Day because I'd done all the preparation. So I wasn't absolutely worn out, even though the little horrors had got me up probably about 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Come on, can I look, Mum? So we need to let out the steam. So just, now, because these were originally savoury, not sweet, you can brush them with egg on the top. But I'm going to leave these plain. When they're cool, I just brush them with, just put a little icing sugar over the top. So these are going in the oven for about 400. Fingers crossed that they're cooked. And you see, I have got pastry left over. Just a little pastry left over to make another half dozen mince pies. So let's just wipe this down. guess who forgot to get clean cloths out before Derek? Oh, I can do it. I thought the camera was in the way. Oh, wait, we'll do it this way. I like to have a little flour in a bowl like that for rolling out. There we are. So it doesn't make a lot of mess. Now, if you don't want to make pastry, use the little frozen pastry cups that are already made, and they're really quite good. And you can put one on top of the other for the crust. There we are. Puff pastry, you can make them out of puff pastry. I do sometimes. I'm in a hurry. I've got sheets of puff pastry. It's already rolled out. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. We've got mince pies. So it's just a question of how much time have you got? So come on, back to the stove. Let's see how things are cooking. We need to pull this forward. I can see it's cooking quite well. We've got to make the mincemeat whilst this is cooking. So the onions are nicely transparent. Curry powder. This is my own curry powder. This is Calabash curry powder. I will put the recipe up for you online. I've got everything in, so I make my own curry powder, and then I can actually just regulate the amount of hotness. Peppers. I've got red and green peppers. Now,
That looks like red and yellow peppers to me.
oh, red and yellow. I'm colourblind. I'm colourblind. Actually, I'm joking. I went for, or what I thought was going to be a cataract operation on Wednesday, and they called in and said, owing to COVID, it's been put back. I'd already done all the drops and everything, but we still want to see you. And that was the day of all that snow. So my daughter came over at 7 o'clock in the morning. It took us an hour and a half to get into Riverside. And he looked at my eyes and said, I want to see you again in January. So I said, well, when am I going to have it? He said, maybe February, March, April. So, but I'm getting worse and worse. I can't see. I can't see to sew. I can't see to read. I can't see the needle. So look, we're putting the potatoes in, and all we've got to do really is cook the onions and the potatoes, warm the potatoes through like that. These are chopped cashew nuts, roughly chopped. That adds, you see, it's very, very good for you, this. Look at it. Tomato sauce or crushed tomatoes, about 1/4 cup. Let's just turn that down a little bit. Now this is coconut milk. Let's just rinse that out with the coconut milk. And it's going to cook until the coconut milk thickens. So this is a can of coconut milk. There's various coconut milks on the market. I like to make sure that it's not thickened by agar-agar, which is, I think agar-agar's a moss, and it's a thickening agent. And let's just do this. Some of the coconut milks are thickened. Nothing wrong with them, but the brand that I like to use is just coconut milk and a little coconut milk and a little water. There's no thickening in there. It's all natural. Well, the agar-agar is natural, but I'm not sure if it's a seaweed or a moss. I can't remember. So we're going to bring that up to the boil. I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste, because it might need a little salt and pepper in there. It's a bit bland. It's got spice, but it needs a little sea salt. Only put it in whilst it's cooking and then it flavours everything. And I'm going to put a little ground black pepper in there. We haven't got any. My emergency can. I normally grate my own. Have you ever had one of those weeks where time has just flown and you've thought you've got plenty of time to do everything and then find that you don't have any time left at all? It's been one of those weeks since last week, and because Derek last Wednesday was trying to get out for a hospital appointment again in Ottawa. It was about 2 hours after we left, and he couldn't even get out of the village. A dump truck had gone into the ditch and pulled down all the electrical wires. So, mind you, it did bring home the message to him that he needs to change his tyres on the car. So, he's been saying, nah, they're fine, don't worry. Well, they weren't. Though, fortunately, he wasn't in the accident. There we are. We're just going to bring that up to the boil. And then we'll put the top on, and then we'll make the mincemeat. There we are. Let's just put that down a little bit so that everything heats through and cooks without burning. There we are. That should do it. And now let's go back and talk about the mincemeat. I'll come back and look at that in a minute. So mincemeat. Originally, back in about the 1300s, the 13th century, so that's 1200s, mincemeat was actually made with meat, and mince it's chopped up meat, and it was really made with mutton, which is old lamb. Oh, it's sheep, and it can be quite tough. And it was chopped up, and you put fruits and spices with it, cooked it, and it's a way of preserving the meat without actually smoking or drying, which was the main way of preserving meat. And it actually came from the Middle East. It's a Middle Eastern dish. They still eat it out there, but with meat, not the way we eat it these days. And the Crusaders brought it back with them, and it became popular. And it was eaten up to Victorian times still with the meat. And there was one period when it was the Cavaliers against the Roundheads, and the Roundheads, the Puritans, thought that it was a little bit decadent and they wouldn't allow it to be eaten, whereas the Cavaliers thought great, and they ate it regardless. So that was just a period of history in the English where the two sides were against the middle. Excuse me, the spices have got to me. There we are. And it was Victorian times when they stopped using the meat and started preserving it with fruits and the way of doing it, and apples and everything. And suet is very often added. And if I remember correctly, the recipes always had 13 ingredients, And this was for the 13 disciples, the original disciples. So it has a religious overtone as well. That's probably why the Roundheads didn't like it, because it had the religious overtones. And so that's how the Victorians made it this way, and this is how we've been eating it ever since. Now, I made the recipe that I've given you. I made half yesterday and I'm making half today, so you can see how much it will make. Whoa, that's very clever of me. There we are. And I know what I've not done. I've not got a bowl out to mix the mincemeat in. So let's have a look, see what we've got. Excuse me whilst I go and have a look. Oh, I can use this one. Let me just give this a rinse. There we are. It only had potatoes in it. So we want to get the fruit as fine as possible, and that means grating it. But I find it easier and a bit lazy to use a food processor. Now I peel the apples and I've just got them in a little lemon water to stop them going brown. So bear with me. There we are. And it doesn't take long at all. It's great. I love a food processor. Trap the little bits that get lost. And a small carrot. It's, you know, how much carrot do you want? It's up to you. But the carrot, again, it adds sweetness. Carrots are quite sweet. There's a little bit left there. Now, be careful. Look, there's 2 holes there that you put your fingers in. Just be careful that you don't cut yourself. They're very, very sharp. And never, oh, that's boiling. Sorry, Derek, I'm running around. He loses me.
Yeah, sorry this time.
He got me. I'm going to take the lid off so that can just steam a little bit. So you see, it's very, very quick. There's more prep to doing this than there is. So we just put that in there like that. Put that over there. And we've got raisins or sultanas, whatever fruit. If you're not worried about sugar, I like to put a few glossy cherries in, but I can't eat them. But you could put some glacé pineapple in there. It's entirely up to you. These are the ground almonds. I just use fresh almonds and put them in the little food processor. Mixed spice. Again, I will give you the recipe. It's my own mixed spice. Oh, it's beginning to smell gorgeous. Orange juice. The orange peel has been in there. And the bit that can't be left out, the brandy or the rum. Put that on one side, cover it, put it on one side, let it sit overnight. And then either put it in the freezer, use it, or keep it in the fridge for about a day. But that's all there is to making mincemeat. I want to go and have a look at the oven, so I'm going back. I like to give him warning. Then he doesn't shout at me. Almost cooked. We'll leave them just for a few more minutes. The Korma is actually ready. Let me just taste it, just to make sure. Yeah, I'm going to cancel the oven because we're going to take these out. I want to see if I can cool them a few minutes to get them out of the tin. But I can't put the icing sugar on there at the moment because it's hot and it would just dissolve. So let's have a look and see what we can do with the Korma. I've got a nice serving dish. We've got some rice cooked. Turn that off. There's the Korma. You could always add some lentils to that if you wanted. A can of lentils. It's not traditional, but you know, who's bothered? A little cilantro over the top. This, which you've got the recipe for on the sheet today, is an Italian, it's an Indian mustard, and it's traditionally served with this dish. It's very hot, but it's a clear heat, and you have to let it mature for 3 days before you can use it. But it's very, very simple to make. So let's have a look at these. The rice to go with the Korma. Just break the rice up as it's been sitting there. This is basmati rice. I like basmati rice. So you can see how quickly a meal comes together. Let's see if I can get these out. They could be a little bit warm. I've got Derek's Nan's dish. Whoops. It is better to let them cool a little bit, but if you don't want to use such a deep tin, use just a shallower tin. If you find these are a little bit large for mince pies. There we are. Woohoo! And there is a dish. Let's rinse this out. And we'll put a little of that mustard out. I'll have a taste. And so thank you very much for watching, and bye, enjoy, and please go on to Facebook, Mrs. Calabash Cooks, and then like and share it with a friend, and I'll see you next week. And some dimes, ding, 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 ding. $20.